One of the reasons I love Christmas is that when the doorbell rings this time of year, it's either Amazon or a friend. And today, we've got a friend joining us on the show. It's Daytona Danielson from Taproot Theater. She's got some fun news to share with us. Daytona, welcome back to Christmas Spirit 105.3. How's your Christmas going so far?
It is going so well. It's always hard to believe it's already almost Christmas, though, right?
I
Time goes so
know.
fast.
First, it feels like it's forever away, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I need to finish the shopping stat.
Absolutely. And that makes me think of For the First Time in Forever, which is part of the Frozen soundtrack that's been going through my head almost nonstop at times.
Oh, I love it. I was so excited to find out that you had written a cookbook, but not just any cookbook. This is a great Christmas gift if you're not done with your shopping. It's Disney Frozen, the official cookbook, a culinary journey through Arendelle. Daytona, how fun is this? How did this come about?
Well, I have been writing about Scandinavian food for about 15 years. I come from a Scandinavian family with a father born in Norway. And about a year and a half ago, the publisher contacted me looking for a Scandinavian food expert who would be willing to write the recipes for this new Disney Frozen cookbook. So I co-created the cookbook, which is a taste of Arendelle for sure, but also very much an authentic Scandinavian cookbook with a generous dose of whimsy that you would expect from Disney and the Frozen franchise.
You mean whimsy like a snow cone ice monster? How fun is this?
Absolutely. And that was so fun to create. And, you know, I have two kids, well, now a teenager and a preteen, but it was so fun to bring them into the process too and get their ideas. And so the snow cone ice monster was actually my son Vincent's idea, which is just so fun to create with them.
Okay, Fun Aunt wants to know, what do you use to make a snow cone ice monster?
Well, it just requires, you know, a fairly inexpensive snow cone machine, which is one of those appliances that you think you don't need, right? Until you have one.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a small kitchen, and I created this cookbook in my very small kitchen. But I have to say that purchasing the snow cone machine for this just created all of the fun with my kids and created this lovely experience of being able to play with our food, create memories together in the kitchen. And, you know, I got into Scandinavian food to begin with because I was baking and cooking with my mom and my grandma throughout the years. Oh. And so we had built these traditions already before I even had kids of spending time in the kitchen together and bridging these, you know, generational gaps through something tactile and tangible and delicious. And so I try to do that with my kids to this day. And I hope that through this cookbook and my other cookbooks that parents, grandparents, family, friends, neighbors, etc., will be inspired to do something similar and create those memories together in the kitchen and then sharing the food that they create together.
I totally believe that's going to happen. What is one of the recipes maybe you learned from your mom or grandma that we can find in the book?
Sure. Well, there is this really delicious Norwegian food called lefse. And lefse is, you know, there are many kinds of it. The kind that I grew up making with my grandmother was potato lefse. And so Grandma Adeline was a professional lefse baker back in the day. She worked at a lefse factory, and she really wanted back in the day to be able to pass on her expertise and her experience and all the tips and tricks that she had learned over the years with somebody else. So when she passed, which she did several years ago, her legacy would live on through there. And I will say her legacy lived on in many ways, not just lefse. But that has been something that now my mom and my son will even do together, or we will all do it together. And it's just so fun. The little variation in this cookbook, though, is that the lefse has a brown butter touch. Oh. And if you've ever cooked with brown butter, you know how delicious and nutty and just, everything with brown butter is better, right?
Yes, 100%, 1,000%. And then you even have something for reindeers. Sven is one of my favorite characters in Frozen. And what is that recipe, Daytona?
Are reindeers better than people? Carrots. And that has it's a really fun and delicious, easy way to add just a little touch of something delicious to carrots that would make it equally as special for a holiday celebration or for a weeknight meal.
Oh, I think it's great. And one of my favorite things about your cookbook is that, you know what, we love the Christmassy Christmas gifts, but this is wonderful all year round, particularly for winter and snow days. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, much of the world of Frozen takes place.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but much of it takes place in the winter. And so you have all sorts of cozy recipes, from the hot soup and glögg in the Great Hall to, hot cocoa and all sorts of cozy things. But then, you even have Olaf, who, if you remember from the movies, experiences what it's like to be a snowman in summer. So you have his summer sipper, which is this, really fruity, delightful, sweet beverage that could be super refreshing on a summer day, provided that he has his own personal flurry, right?
That's right. Daytona, how many times did you watch Frozen to get inspired to write this cookbook?
Oh, I wish I had counted. I had seen it before, having children, but it was so fun to be able to, I'm going to say make my kids, sit down with my kids and watch it again. And then also, like I said, get their ideas to, figure out what recipe should go in it. And, there's not a lot necessarily of food references in it. So it became this really creative process to think, what would the characters in Frozen eat? What would people in Arendelle eat? What would the princesses eat in the castle when they were growing up for breakfast, for example? So we definitely rewatched the movies, sometimes, pausing and rewinding and pausing and rewinding to get a detailed look at what was on that spread of food. And then, of course, I listened to the soundtrack when I was recipe testing. And so, like I said, the songs of Frozen and Frozen 2 have become very much the soundtrack of my life in the last year and a half.
I think it's wonderful. I'm just so enjoying looking at the pictures from your cookbook. It's Disney Frozen, the official cookbook, a culinary journey through Arendelle. And I'm just warning you, if you buy a copy for a friend or a family member, it's going to be hard to let it go. So you might want to get two. Daytona Danielson, thank you for being with us, and Merry, Merry Christmas, my dear.
Thank you for having me. Merry Christmas to you all.